Program. Federal government inaugurates 16-man committee on consequential adjustments in salaries as organized labor eagerly awaits minimum wage takeoff. Health facilities cut off, laboratories affected in Maiduguri flood as humanitarian organizations intensify intervention. And later on the show, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike defends working for President Bola Tinubu, says he will never back Governor Fubara in future elections. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Adewale Adeoye. Journalist Hangout starts right now. Now let's begin the conversation. We begin with the story of fame and stardom. Portuguese soccer icon Cristiano Ronaldo continues to embody the narrative of a man who dared to dream and is living the dream after recently bagging the most decorated player in the Champions League by UEFA. He has also been crowned as the footballer with the most career goals at 900. His consistency with greatness continues as he made history by becoming the first person to reach 1 billion followers across his social media platforms. From the streets of Madeira to the biggest stages in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo's legendary status is untouched. BKO Cristiano Ronaldo, the first man to hit 1 billion followers on social media, a world record. Don't you agree?
It's an unbelievable personality. It gives me joy when I recall that before he won his first individual prize, I saw the potential in him. And when my son came on October 4, 2006, I named him after Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, really?
He had not won a single individual prize at that time, but I saw in him tremendous potential. After that, he went on to become the highest scorer in the Premiership that year, became player of the season, and the accolades continued to stream in. And look at him today. After scoring his 900 and 901 goal, not put it to bed.
Oh, really?
You know, these arguments are emotive in nature, and people have made up their minds that somebody is the best. Will never agree. But what I'm saying, I'm not even arguing about whether he's the best footballer ever. I'm saying that beyond sports, is an incomparable person. So he's excelled in sports and in other things. When it comes to humanitarian work, there's nobody like Cristiano Ronaldo. The person that the world also respects, that comes close to him, and is an athlete like him, is Roman Reigns, the wrestler.
Okay, Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns, you know, the WWE wrestler. They are known for worthy causes. You are not going to find a single tattoo on Ronaldo's body because he constantly donates blood. Okay. And if you have tattoo all over your body, they always fear that your blood could be contaminated. Okay. So because he wants to be donating blood regularly, he has not agreed to have a tattoo on his body. He's a tremendous sportsman. On Instagram, he has 638 million followers. 638 million followers. We are not talking on thousands. On Facebook, he has 170 million followers. On X, he has 113 million followers. 60.7 million followers on YouTube.
Oh dear.
Nobody comes close. Nobody.
Oh dear.
He scored 450 goals for Real Madrid, 145 for Manchester United, 101 for Juventus, and 5 for his first club, Sporting Club of Portugal, you know, where he joined Manchester United as an 18-year-old. So he's also netted 62 goals for his current club, Al Nassr. When did he join?
He can't stop scoring.
He won't stop scoring.
He's a goal machine.
When it comes to goal scoring, nobody is like him. Nobody will ever be like him. You know, just like the great wrestler, what's his name again, used to say, I'm the best there is, the best there was, the best there will ever be. You know, one great wrestler from Canada who was on WWE at that time. There were three brothers. I'm trying to remember. I'm sure I'll remember his name later. Hitman. Yes.
Okay.
Hitman. Hitman described himself as the best there is, the best there was, and the best there will ever be.
All right, Adewale, let me come to you here. Talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, what makes him different as a footballer and also as a sportsman?
I think
what makes him stand out?
If you look at his life, there's a lot of lessons we need to learn as human beings. The 60 million dollars on which we are talking about happened in just 3 weeks. So we don't know what will happen in the next few weeks, few months. And when we are talking about Ronaldo, you also have to look at his background. This is somebody whose father was a gardener, his mother was a cook and a cleaner. His mother was pregnant, of Ronaldo. The mother nearly aborted. In fact, the mother wanted the child to be aborted, but the doctor insisted no. And why did the mother wanted the child to be aborted? Because she already had 3 children and felt that out of poverty, there was no way she could cope. And Ronaldo, when Ronaldo started school, he was a troublesome boy that was even a spark.
And the drive for perfection. There's no doubt when you look at Messi and you look at Ronaldo, Messi is clearly the more talented footballer. But Messi will never work as hard as time. You know, because he's been offering support to Palestinians for years. He physically went there. So we live in a world where we need to lend a hand to the needy. And Cristiano Ronaldo has shown that this is the sort of thing that makes him happy. That's why you can compete with him as per who is the best player in the world. But when it comes to the sportsman committed to worthy causes, worthy causes, is football's version of Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates. You know, so no player, no sports person can match him in terms of humanitarian work. And that's one side of it that many people didn't know.
Exactly.
Many people didn't know, for example, why he didn't have tattoos. It was all because he wanted to put himself in a position where he could constantly donate blood to the needy. His place in history is assured. There will never be anyone like him. It was Bret the Hitman Hart, you know, I had in mind. When it comes to perfection, yes, Bret the Hitman Hart. He talked about the excellence of execution. You know, when he executes that final move, he talks about it as the excellence of execution.
But BK, do you know what they call him on the street?
Who?
Ororo?
Oh, yes, now, of course. Because his hair was always shiny.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, let's move straight to our next story. All growths depend upon activities, as there is no development physically or intellectually without effort and work. This is the path Governor Uba Sani of Kaduna State is treading, with the focus of his administration on unprecedented developmental projects. One of these is the Kaduna Smart City project, which Governor Sani said will attract about $150 million in foreign direct investment and create 100,000 direct jobs. According to the governor, the project has already generated interest from private investors and is capable of creating indirect jobs for about 500,000 people. He also highlighted the partnership between the state and Google, which has trained 5,000 women in the digital economy. Now let's hear from Governor Sani.
That's Kaduna State government also signed an MOU with Huawei Technologies Limited on Kaduna Smart City that would enhance security also improve the level of efficiency and transparency in public service, create smart healthcare systems, smart education, smart public transportation, as well as e-government. Of course, when we returned a few days ago, we set up a committee between Kaduna State government and Huawei to implement the MOU. And of course, from the timeline, I have no doubt in my mind, in the next 2-3 weeks, we'll come up with details.
BKO, looking at Kaduna State, this Kaduna Smart City, what is the significance? Let's talk about the significance and benefits of this smart city on the economy of Kaduna State.
Job generation in the areas of renewable energy, public transportation, intelligent traffic system, honing of talents, improvement in people's talents and all that. I know that when the president was traveling to China, it was Governor Obasan. He took Governor Obasan with him along with other people. But look at what this governor has done. He used the opportunity to meet with the authorities of the Chinese Huawei company and thought about what he could attract to his state. This is what we need. Not people going abroad, say they are looking for investors and we don't see anything. The memorandum of understanding was signed in the presence of the president. So you can't say this is an audio story. You know? So we've seen signs that this will work. The president literally supervised the signing. It was there. So this is an opportunistic attempt at making Kaduna State better. An opportunistic effort at attracting investors to the state to make the state a lot better. Kwara State is doing something like that along the line of smart city project. I want to see how far they can go with that of Kwara. Maybe when next I go to Kwara, I want to see how far they've gone because we discussed it there. But this is particularly heartwarming for me because Kaduna has a special place in my heart because I was born there. Oh, really? You know, yes. I was born in Zaria. I always talk about it. The governor is also a Zaria man. Rufai is also a Zaria man. You know, so I have a soft spot for Kaduna as the land of my birth. So I long to see Kaduna that is peaceful and prosperous. Once we are able to defeat the rampant banditry in the northwest, including Kaduna, then we will see development come to all of Kaduna State, including the long-neglected southern Kaduna. I'm happy that some projects have been taken there now. So we need the governor to do a lot more of this, you know, because this will help give us the Kaduna that we want in terms of outlook. The city will be more pleasing on the eye when we have this city,
and we also benefit
smart city project. Yes, jobs will be created. Thousands of jobs will be created. And when somebody has a job, he has many dependents to take care of. Other people will look up to him. So I'm happy that the governor didn't just travel with the president like a handbag. He also used the opportunity to do business. And this is a very smart piece of business.
Policy formation is something that we hear a lot, but when it comes to policy implementation, how optimistic are you that this dream of Governor Obasan will be birthed successfully?
Well, I think that is a major area that we need to look at. You know, our leaders do come up with very beautiful programs, after some years, those programs, when you review them, they may not meet up to public expectation. But I think in this particular case, it appears to be different because it still has about 3 years to spend, and the people organizing that is working with, there are people that are known all over the world. The company that is partnering with Kaduna, and this is not it's not the first time. I think about last year, Qatar, opened up 500,000 housing units, also in this same Kaduna state. Okay. And this current governor was also pivotal, to that project. So the fact of the matter is that it should inspire many of us that in spite of the security problems in Kaduna, in spite of the challenges, that we have people that are determined to overcome these challenges by coming up with programs and projects that are inspiring, that serve as a kind of motivation to many of us. Housing is a major problem in Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria has one of the highest numbers of homeless people. The World Bank puts the figure at 24 million, Nigerians that are homeless. They wake up every day, there's no place to put their heads. And there is a major problem. Even though many countries have similar problems, ours is the highest in Africa. So if you can come to the realization that housing is a fundamental problem, some of the most important issues that the government needs to address, then you have to give kudos to Kaduna State government. The project that was launched by Qatar was supposed to provide 500,000 housing units. So this is the second phase. Okay. And Kaduna has a population of 9 million. So if you are dealing with almost about 10% of that population providing housing, for the population, I think that will be huge. I think I hope this will inspire other governors. Okay. That's not just about, building bridges and all that, but address issues that deal with the needs and aspirations. And I think housing is one of them.
Now, BK, let's talk about attracting foreign direct investments. Lagos State continues to top the charts. Then Abuja, then Ekiti. Last year, not up to 20 states attracted foreign direct. Why is it so difficult for states in Nigeria to attract foreign direct investment? Is it that they don't believe in it, or they don't have the capacity?
No, even the federal government is struggling to attract foreign direct investment. They get a lot of foreign portfolio investment, but foreign portfolio investments are they are not really long-lasting like foreign direct investment. Yes, they invest their money, they take the money out. Like those investing in Nigerian bonds and all that. Okay. And once they make their money, invest in Nigerian treasury bills, they make their money and leave. But we want foreign direct investment. MTN, for example, is an example of foreign direct investment. And MTN pays tax to our country that putting many Nigerian banks together, they do not actually pay that much tax. The kind of money coming to MTN, by the size of their business here, they are larger than many Nigerian banks put together. So, and you can see, beyond even creating jobs for our people, they are also helping to boost the economy. They are contributing significantly to the GDP of our country. Okay. So we need foreign direct investments because they are long-lasting and they help to shore up they help you to make foreign exchange. You make a lot of money by way of foreign exchange. They generate employment. They also help you train manpower. Exactly. A lot of people who work with MTN today, or even Airtel. A lot of them today did not have the expertise that they now have. Sure. So that's why we need, if a big company were to come, maybe to Toyota, to say, okay, we are coming to set up shop in Nigeria. Okay. That's a lot of money for us as a country. That will also generate employment, and it will help stimulate the economy in many ways, because there are also other associated businesses that will come with it. Okay. So it's just like talking about telephony. Okay. From telephony, you see, even the idea of POS could never have happened without without telephoning.
Sure.
People now are repairing phones. That's their own career now. They repair phones. Some are selling it. A lot of other associated businesses,
Exactly.
you know, will spring up as a result.
All right, let's move straight to our next story. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, is adopting novel ideas in its bid to create a Nigeria where integrity, accountability, and transparency reign. The chairman of the ICPC, Musa Adamu Aliyu, SCN, has made history as the first chairman of any anti-graft agency in the country to personally lead a prosecution in the country. He walked the talk of a promise he made during his inaugural press briefing in Abuja to actively participate in the prosecution of key cases to reinforce the Commission's mission. What a bold step to establish a monumental change to inspire a Nigeria that works. Now, BKO, the ICPC chairman, leading the court prosecution. What is the importance of this in the fight against corruption?
No, it's just to show that it's leading from the front. I remember the late Justice Akanbi was ICPC chairman, and some of his staff complained to him that there was a judge making life difficult for them by clearly not appearing to be even-handed in the discharge of his duties.
Okay.
So Justice Akanbi, in anger, went with the lawyers, the commission's lawyers, to the court, so that today it will be an eyeball-to-eyeball situation between this judge and I. You know, so he was so angry about what he had heard about that judge, so he had to physically go there, so that at least seeing him, the judge won't be able to intimidate the lawyers of the commission the way he had done before then. So, but naturally, a judge, cannot then go and sit like a practicing lawyer. So Justice Akanbi couldn't do that. But we've seen this judge, now we've seen this ICPC chairman do that to underline how serious it takes his job and how serious it takes our desire to defeat corruption. This particular case has to do with 44 local corruption involving 44 local councils in Kano State. And it was supposed to be heard on the 12th of September. He went there physically because he had said that he would lead from the front, that if it was necessary, he would lead the prosecution of some of these cases. So he fulfilled that vow by going to that Kano State High Court too, to make a physical appearance on behalf of the commission. It's a very surreal situation because until now, no head of an anti-corruption body in our country had done that. No Ribadu, a lawyer, he was the first chairman of EFCC, but he didn't have to go to court, to represent the EFCC. Okay. And until now, no anti-corruption body chair had done that. Yes, and I think that this also sends the right message to some of those judges who make life difficult for our anti-corruption bodies by constantly siding with corrupt persons and making their prosecution difficult. Frivolous adjournments, ruling based on technicalities rather than facts of law and all that. So it can be frustrating. It got to a point that EFCC was always shopping for some judges that they felt would give them the kind of leverage that they need to win the war against corruption.
But
even that one no longer happens. The EFCC is a much bigger body now, and there are far more cases to handle now than in those days. So it's difficult to pursue the policy of simply assigning their cases to particular judges.
All right, Adewale Adeoye, corruption, the fight against corruption is always difficult because they say corruption always fights back. We heard that during the former President Muhammadu Buhari administration. Now with this, is this the beginning of fighting corruption, defeating corruption?
Well, it's not the beginning. It's the continuation.
Continuation.
In the more determined way, the more inspiring way to fight corruption. It shows to a large extent the commitment of the ICPC chairman.
Okay.
It shows his passion. It shows his nationalism. And also, it's a leader that has shown clearly that he wants to inspire, especially the legal department. And one other important thing is that it's really going to save cost. Because if you go and hire SANS, you know what that one will cost, the ICPC. So, but for him to have taken it up this litigation, I think is quite a very important step. Corruption is one of the major problems that is confronting Nigeria. And what he has done now, we resolve the prospect of third-party interference. Because if you hire a lawyer that is just after profit, it could be easily compromised. But when the ICPC chairman is the one leading the charge, I think this is quite impressive. It's going to save the commission a lot of money. And I think also to make the judges to know that, look, this is not business as usual. So I'm impressed by what he has done. And I think, like I said, it's a continuation of what the agenda he has set for himself. In recent, I was in a conference in Abuja last week, and I'm impressed by the president of the ICPC and the FCC. Their determination to deal with this problem of corruption, and even they are trying to even go into local governments. We are talking about local government autonomy. They already have a template to address that problem. That when these funds come to local government, there is going to be a mechanism that will address the question of transparency. And accountability on the part of. So I think when you have the right people in the right place, I think it's going to be a big, bonus for the country. More than $80 billion go out of Africa every year, into corruption, to Europe and all that. So if you can tackle the problem of corruption, I believe that Nigeria will move a huge step forward.
BKO, tackling corruption. The Tinubu administration spent over a year in office. And how will you assess what the president has done so far in the fight against corruption within and outside his government? How will you assess it?
Well, it's early days. I want to believe that there's still a lot to do. There's still a lot ahead of us to do, and there's a new FCC chairman. He has his own methods. To take a while before the people who work with him will get used to his methods, but there's a lot of investigation going on. There's a lot of recovery. I think when you look at the quantum of money already recovered, you see clearly that a lot of work is being done behind the scene that we are not actually privy to. I am against the idea of media trial. Let the FCC do its work, do the work diligently without simply calling the attention of the media. And I think that in the last few months, we've seen them doing their best to depart from that. Focus on what you are doing, especially the recovery of funds. I know that this president needs money so much, and he's telling them to go after some of the looters. A lot of the money is being recovered. Look at how much you've recovered from the worst CBN governor in Nigerian history. who is on trial now. So much money have been recovered. Property here and there, that the EFCC approached the courts and got the courts to place those properties in abeyance. So there's no access to them. And we are talking about interim forfeiture now, which could later become permanent forfeiture. So they are working behind the scenes from what I see. For me, that is the style that I favor, not
the media trial.
Standing on the rooftops and doing media trial just to gain attention. No. We need to secure much more convictions of politically exposed persons than the EFCC is known to do. The EFCC thrives when it comes to Yahoo boys and all that. They secure plenty of convictions. Sure. But when it comes to politically exposed persons who have the capacity to hire some of the best lawyers, the SANS.
Yes,
SANS are here. They can hire them. It becomes difficult for them to secure conviction. So, but we need them to excel in that area, because a lot of the big money we are talking about, is in the hands of those people that we can find them. So I think it's early days. The administration needs to still do better in the area of...
but they're showing signs.
Yes.
Showing signs.
That's why I said, look at how much they've recovered. Because the EFC chairman addressed the press and talked about what they've recovered. I think they've done very well in that regard. People have no reason to keep the proceeds of corruption. No, proceeds of corruption must go to the state. Okay. And that's what we are seeing. And you can see that some of the money has even been set aside for the students' loan. The students' loan scheme is something that we really want to see work. And if there's money somewhere,
exactly,
of course we can take that money, even if it's in form of a loan,
and put it
in the student loan scheme so that it can be successful.
Okay. All right, let's move straight to another story, where the need to implement the provisions of the new National Minimum Wage Act 2024 by the federal government is putting workers on edge. But the wait may soon be over, as the federal government has approved the constitution of a committee on consequential adjustments in salaries comprising 16 members. This is made up of 16 members each from the federal government and organized labor. According to the head of service of the Federation, D.D. Wilson Jack, the aim is to adjust the salaries of other categories of workers and maintain a fair and equitable salary structure, taking into consideration the consequential effect of the 70,000 naira minimum wage. Wally, let me start with you. The federal government inaugurating a 16-man committee on consequential adjustment. What are your expectations when it comes to negotiations and agreements on salaries? What are you expecting from this committee?
I think the committee is to do a thorough job based on reports from the different segments, Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, the informal and the formal sector,
okay,
and the labor, who are also, involved in this committee, led by the SSG, FSG, Secretary to the Federal Government of the Federation. So I think is to harmonize the different positions and also to look at how this will impact on the employer and then on the workforce. So I believe it's a necessary step to be taken, and I hope at the end of the day they will agree on the model, the strategy of implementation. Okay. I also expect states, some states are already doing that, setting up their own committee to reflect on how the new minimum wage, will affect workers. Because money is just paper in the real sense of it. So it does not mean that when people are being paid 70,000 naira, then automatically they'll be able to deal with all their economic challenges. The government still needs to do a lot of things, that to cushion the, effect of this minimum wage. That's what I expect labor to push forward, at this committee level. For instance, the issue of health insurance, is a major problem in Nigeria. In other countries, why people pay health insurance is that you collect money from the working force population, and then maybe that population only about 20% will have health problems in a year. Then you have access to deal with, the minor, the small percentage has some health problem compared with the majority of people that are paying for that health insurance. So that if anybody has any health problem, if you don't have enough money to take care of yourself, there is an insurance policy that can address your needs. And then social benefits, transportation, these are very key areas. And then food security, so that people can have access to basic food items, access to education. If educational policies are not accessible to the masses, for instance, if you have a child in a university that feeds 2,000 naira in a day, in a month that's 60,000 naira. In one semester, that's 180,000 naira. So, and you are on salary grade of 70,000 naira. So there are a lot of things that the government needs to put in place to ensure that, yes, they are going to be paid 70,000 naira, but at the end of the day, there will be other safety bets, social benefits and all that will make sure that the body will not be too, much on the worker. So I think these are some of the things I expect the committee to look at, so that at the end of the day, the workers will not feel the pain too beyond the expectation.
Okay, BKO, in your opinion, the delay, why did it take so long for it to be constituted? Is it the federal government that is to blame, or Labour, or both of them, or nobody should be blamed?
No, you can't blame Labour for the inability of the federal government to constitute this committee in good time. They also have to sort out funding. This kind of money is not readily available. It has to be appropriated for, and through the National Assembly, maybe some form of environment or whatever. So I said long before now that minimum wage issues are not dispensed with in a hasty manner. President Tinubu, in the final analysis, has managed to do in under a year what the last administration took almost 4 years to do. Well, look at it this way. A new minimum wage was supposed to be due in 2016. President Buhari gave us a new minimum wage in 2019.
3 years after the
Yes,
expiration.
more than 3 years. More than 3 years. Because Goodluck Jonathan gave us a minimum wage in 2011. A new one was based on the law. A new one should be due in 5 years. So President Buhari couldn't give us a new one
In 2016.
in 2016 as stipulated by law. He pushed it right up to 2019. Now, the good thing is a new one, a new minimum wage has come into effect. It's backed by law. But as I always say, the devil is in the consequential adjustment. People think, minimum wage, once that is sorted, that's the end. No. The greater volume of conversations would happen during the consequential adjustments.
Negotiation.
You have to negotiate.
Percentage.
Workers would threaten to go on strike, but it's a negotiation that you have to do. This is it. Minimum wage is supposed to affect level 1 to 7 maximum,
Okay.
depending on how much you are paying. In this case, the minimum wage of 70 million that the president agreed with
70,000.
70,000 that the president agreed with Labour is 133%
Yes.
higher than the old minimum wage. And every time you come up with a minimum wage, it's like increasing salaries of workers across the board.
Across board.
Because everybody will get something on top of his salary. It's not the most poorly paid workers alone. The low ranked workers, as I said, 1 to 7, they will get the minimum wage. Now, if you do not do consequential adjustment to the salaries of their bosses, that is from level 8 to 17,
to 17, okay.
they will eventually overtake their bosses. So that's why you have to then add. You have to add to their salary. That is what this committee is about.
So the percentage to which you add to their bosses is what?
It's based on negotiation. But the higher you go in the civil service, the less percentage
Okay.
you get, less percentage addition to your salary that you get. If you are a level 17 officer, for example, maybe you only get 2.5% more or 5%. It's all subject to negotiation. And when they look at the numbers, they will know that, okay, having doubled the current minimum wage, having more than doubled it, these guys will have overtaken this category of workers. Okay. Then what do we do? The people overtaken, you must add to them their own salary so that a cleaner doesn't begin to earn
more than the director,
more than maybe deputy director.
The deputy director.
Just using that as illustration. So that is what they are going to do, and that is why when you come with a minimum wage, you get to spend a lot of money. You get to spend a lot of money. The cost of running the bureaucracy becomes bigger. Frankly, if you ask me, I doubt if we can continue. Maybe at some point they will amend the law to say, okay, states, we put minimum wage in your hands.
Okay, but Labour has, to what you
Labour has been saying, no, we will not agree. Because in my view, what Zamfara can pay, what Lagos can pay, Ekiti or Zamfara may not be in position to pay. And as we go on with this negotiation on consequential adjustment, you are going to see what we are talking about. Some states will offer will never be like what the federal government. Exactly. This is just about the federal government.
We still have to.
The state. No, some states have
started the discussion.
As Wale said, some states have begun their discussion. They don't want it to become a riotous affair. So they started early. Okay, what do we do? What do we add? And then you look at what is available. Any governor can say, I can pay 70,000 minimum wage. But the consequential adjustment is what will really drive some of them mad. Because once it's done, the agreement is put to bed, and you look at what you have left, then they will start wondering, what have we brought on ourselves? So that is the thing. And I can tell you, now with fuel prices going up, there will be far more hard-nosed negotiators within Labour.
BK, we're talking about the hike in price of petrol. Recently, the Nigerian Labour Congress, they said they feel betrayed, about the hike in price of petrol and the negotiation back then. What are your thoughts on that? I need your opinion on that.
Hey, when they were insisting that they wanted 250,000 per month. The president then said, well, we asked for 250, I will increase fuel price. So according to them, the president twisted them by threatening to increase fuel petrol price if they remained on 250 per month. So they had to back down, and the president agreed to pay 70 million.
70,000.
70,000.
Are you prophesying 70 million right now?
I don't know why I keep using million. Maybe because I think the money is worthless at this time. You know? So that's why they are saying they feel betrayed, because part of the reasons why they agreed to
the 70,000.
to 70,000 was because they were warned that if they remain stoic on the matter of 250, then it will. Okay. You know, when you go into this kind of negotiation, you get armed with all kinds of things. Sure. Blackmail, real facts, everything. You bring everything to the table. So I guess the president, based on what the labor leader said, the president told them, look, if you don't back down 250, then I can pay 250, but I will increase fuel price. So they then
give them an option.
Yeah, they said no. Now they've agreed to 70,000, and you've increased fuel price, which will wipe away whatever gain they felt they made, you know, by agreeing to 70,000 naira per month. So that's why they feel betrayed, because you can imagine if this increase in fuel price was done before those negotiations.
It would
certainly have affected the way the negotiations went.
All right. Well, you want to add to what PK has said?
Well, just to say that we hope the resolution will be symbiotic, it will be meaningful to both sides, so that we are not going to have another round of strike. And we hope that prices of food items will not continue to go up, so that the salaries they want to collect at least will be enough for them to earn a living, basic living standards.
Okay. If you just joined us, it's still Journalist Hangouts. We go on this break, and when we're back, the conversation continues. It's still Journalist Hangouts.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I am sure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
School, I need students, but I need teacher.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices re-echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything.
If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet sour taste for all their demands. A familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does, we'll be there to x-ray all sides, from the east to the west, north and south. Community Forum will examine the oddities and challenges to economic development, as well as issues yearning for government intervention. Watch fresh episodes of Community Forum on Sundays by 9:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
It's still journalist Hangout if you just joined us. I'm still hanging out with Adewale Adeoye and Babajide Kolade Otitojun. Now let's get back to the conversation, shall we? The governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, is not new to disasters, but the devastation caused by last week's flood in Maiduguri is giving him sleepless nights. Professor Zulum is worried that some Boko Haram leaders serving jail terms might have escaped from the correctional center in Maiduguri following the flood disaster. But as the search and rescue team continues its operations, more people have been rescued and evacuated to safer places, while new IDP camps have recorded a high influx of victims. Development partners are complementing efforts of the government to provide succor for affected residents. A delegation from the United Nations, led by the UN Assistant Secretary General and Humanitarian Resident Coordinator Mohammed Malik, said measures are being put in place to scale up interventions towards bringing succor to victims of the disaster. Now let's share the story by TVC News' Jesse Tafida with you.
A high-part delegation of humanitarian organizations arrived at Governor Zulum's council chambers. The team was led by the United Nations Assistant Secretary General, Humanitarian Resident Coordinator Mohammed Malik IV. They are here to commiserate with the state government over the flood disasters. According to him, the humanitarian crisis caused by the flood is huge and needs the support of all development partners to cushion the impact of the floods on people in the state.
And I don't want this meeting to be a list of WHO, UNDP, OICHA, all UN families doing. But I just want you to tell you that we will not spare any of our resources in this response. Probably we might not be where we wanted to be in terms of resources. But as we speak, we will try also to repurpose resources that were designed for some other intervention to see how we can bring them towards scaling up and speeding up this response.
Governor Babagana Zulum appreciates the concerns shown by development partners at this crucial time.
What we need is that we shall work with you more closely to prevent outbreaks of diseases, provide immediate medical assistance, provide immediate humanitarian support in terms of food and non-food items, shelter, amongst others. But most importantly, the major intervention that we need is how we shall support these people to go back to their houses.
Part of the delegation are representatives from various humanitarian organizations, including the European Union, all UN agencies, Save the Children, the World Food Programme, and Intersource. Jesse Tafida, TVC News, Maiduguri.
Our heart goes out to the Borno State government and the people there, mostly the women and children and people living with disabilities. But BKO, the governor, showing concerns, about escaped prisoners. But if after how many days, we still don't know the number of people, the number of inmates that escaped. BKO, how worrisome is this?
It's always something usually happens in Nigeria. When this sort of thing happens, the authorities will first try to give us a feeling that the problem is not as bad as it is, so that people are not thrown into unnecessary panic. What the governor has said is different to what I've heard some of the Ministry of Interior officials say, giving us the impression that not many people escaped. We have relocated them to another prison, which is on a higher ground.
Okay.
But Governor Zulum is not someone who masks his concerns. If he's concerned about something, he will talk about it. And you can see he's worried that many of the Boko Haram leaders who had been in detention have escaped in this calamity. And you can't say a governor does not know what he's saying, because security operatives will also be briefing him.
Is the chief security officer?
Yes, they'll be briefing him about the extent of the problem. And he's saying, look, this is a big problem that a lot of the Boko Haram leaders in detention in Maiduguri may have escaped. And by that, he meant some of the people who had been in detention since like 2013, 2014. You know? They had been in prison, and not many of them have been convicted. Because we have hundreds of these terrorists that we've not even put on trial.
On a waiting
You're just
trial.
keeping them in prison, you know, keeping them in correctional facility. Because I'm an old-fashioned person. It's prison that keeps coming to my mouth. And these are people, dangerous people, bomb makers, commanders, leaders of the group from the two factions of Boko Haram, ISWAP and the Shekau-led faction, which is actually called Boko Haram. A good number of those guys were in prison. And when the prison wall came down, what do you expect?
Some might have even died.
Some would naturally, for somebody, for example, who has almost finished serving his sentence, if there is a jailbreak, he will be reluctant to escape. Because trying to escape itself is a big crime for which you get shot down. The first thing to do when a prisoner tries to escape is to gun him down. That is the tradition. So a prisoner who has almost finished serving a sentence will rather wait to be rearrested, you know, and put back in the facility. And with the floods overtaking the prison, a lot of the people who fled were justified to flee. Because you could just die in the deluge. So the governor is worried. You know, a lot of us are underrating the scale of this disaster. More than 400,000 people have been displaced from their homes. The zoo. I was watching a foreign TV station. I think an Indian station showing the ostrich that escaped from the prison and the lion that escaped, and people were running. Even the person who filmed the lion was too scared. He couldn't keep the shot steady.
Sure.
You know what it means. You know, you are looking at the lion eyeball to eyeball. How can you feel comfortable?
Exactly, you can't.
So a lot of the animals have left their enclosures because of what happened. This is a big global level disaster. People should stop seeing it simply as Nigerian class, if I can use class in inverted commas. This is a disaster of international proportion. And Nigeria must get the support of the international community, because a lot of these houses, even after the water has receded,
the integrity
of those houses, you can't vouch for.
Sure.
So people would not just need to be resettled. New homes must be built for people. And this will cost a lot of money. It's not, Nigerians should not think that, people like Dangote have come up, they brought a few billions. No, the scale of this disaster is bigger than that.
It's almost like rebuilding a whole city.
It's bigger than that. Cemeteries overrun, corpses floating on the water. People can't even find drinking water. I saw people trapped in a story building. Soldiers were throwing bread at them. Some of the bread will fall inside the water. Now, in terms of sanitation, water already contaminated by the fact that cemeteries have been overrun and corpses are flowing, especially the Muslim cemetery in Gwange. You know the way the Christians bury their dead. Yes, and we put concrete here and there. The place is sealed. That's not the way the Muslims bury their dead. So the cemetery in Gwange area was overrun, and corpses floating on some cases bones, same bones. So the water is contaminated already. The possibility of disease is huge. So we need an international scale intervention. After all, Nigeria is a party to all of these international funding agencies and all that under the umbrella of the UN. Nigeria is a party to all of this. So at this time, they need to help us. They need to come to our aid. Hospitals, they were talking. There's a boy who is close to me who said he had just been discharged when this disaster happened, and the hospital is already submerged. Laboratories, hospitals. So I really feel for the governor of Borno State now, because he needs all the help that
he can. But let's still stay with the issue of our correctional centers. Well, what is the state of our correctional centers in emergencies like this?
I think when you are confronted with a natural disaster like this, given the capacity of Nigeria and our institutions, we don't have preventive measures that can stop maybe hardened criminals from escaping from our correctional centers. Even when there are no natural disasters, these correctional centers are vulnerable. People go there, they set the place ablaze. We have seen so many prison outbreaks, even in normal times. Not to talk of when there is a disaster of this magnitude. So the truth of the matter is that we don't have preventive measures. Those correctional centers cannot even withstand very serious flooding situation or very serious wild wind. If you have ever visited those places, they are not built to withstand, natural disaster like this. And apart from that, when people escape from correctional centers, we don't have the mechanism to track them because of our data, poor data, poor networking, the DNAs and all that. And also, in other places that if a prisoner escapes, immediately it goes somewhere, maybe to a bank, and touches something. There's an alert. The government already knows, security knows where he is.
They will leave digital
and they know how to, within 24 hours. Even if this had happened in other countries, they will have the list of all the victims that we are talking about who have either died or are missing. But in our station now, we are talking about some figures, 256 in 22. So we don't have their names. I'm sure a lot of people are missing as we are talking, that probably nobody will be able to account for them. And the fact of the matter is that even when we have warning signals, our emergency responses are always very poor. If you look at the forecast, about this flooding, it's been on right from January. We have been giving warning locally and internationally. And this is not the first time we have had flooding. This is the worst we have had in my memory. It happened in 1992. It happened in 1994. It happened in 2012, though not of this magnitude. That we are talking about was built between 1984 and 1986. So many years ago, it collapsed. So you can, it has a capacity that,
the volume of water received was quite above the capacity of the dam. What kind of renovation have we done since 1984 to ensure that the dam will be able to withstand
pressures
test of
like
time?
this?
And over time, in fact, as far back as 1970, we have been warned about deforestation going on in the north. In fact, the northeast is one of the most hit. In 20 years, the northeast lost about 70%, about 7% of its forest. Northwest, the same thing. North central, the same thing. What are we doing to bring back what we have lost? The biodiversity, the impact on soil erosion, the impact on agriculture. Borno State is noted for sorghum, millet, sweet tomatoes, cowpea, and all sorts of products. What will be the impact of this flooding on those farmers? People have lost fortunes. And the problem is that it can happen again. So we are dealing with a crisis of climate change, and we are not putting the right mechanism to get in place to deal with this problem. Look at Lagos State, for instance. The last time I remember massive planting of trees was during the time of Fashola. Real massive planting of trees. How many states are planting trees all over the country? Very few of them, if any. So we need to be futuristic. That what will happen to Nigeria in the next 20, 30 years. It will involve a lot of planning. The urban and regional laws, the laws on the environment, the laws on climate change needs to be domesticated so that we can have a kind of system that can deal with future problems, because this thing can happen again, as we are talking about, maybe the next few years. You don't put the right mechanism in place.
In other words, we've been taking nature for granted.
Yeah. And nature is fighting back. We have been so unfair to nature.
All right, BK, on a final note, this is not the first time we're seeing this, okay? Early this year, the wall of one prison, actually fell and prisoners escaped. What will you be telling the Minister of Interior on ways to improve our custodial centers across the country?
We need to build new prisons. I know that it's not easy, but we need to build new prisons. Some of those prisons were built more than 100 years ago. We need to build new prisons because, look, if we had modern prisons, we probably would have been able to escape. We probably would have been in position to avoid the kind of situation that we found ourselves. There are not many modern prisons in our country. I always talk about the governor of
Akpabio.
Yes, because he built a modern prison. We need to build those modern prisons. I think what's his name? Kurocha also built a modern prison, detention facility. So we need to build them, and we need to relocate them far away from city centers where we have them, so that when there's a jailbreak, it's not easy for them to dissolve into the crowd.
Okay.
So because that was what worsened the problem in Suleja. When you have prisons located like 10 meters away from people's residences, it's dangerous, because once a prisoner escapes, you can run into, you can go and hide in one of the houses close to the prison, and security forces will find it difficult to deal with the situation. So we need to relocate them. Also improve prisoners' welfare as well. So there is a lot that the Interior Minister needs to do.
All right, let's move straight to our next topic. As Nigeria continues to grapple with the aftermath of devastating flood in Maiduguri, Borno State, the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsev, has issued the alert on a large volume of water flowing through rivers Niger and Benue down to the Niger Delta region, stressing the need for heightened vigilance and proactive measures, particularly in southern Nigeria, to mitigate the effects of potential flooding. According to him, the 2024 Annual Flood Outlook, publication by the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, identified high, moderate and low flood risk areas across the country. Borno, Bauchi, Jigawa, Taraba, Yobe, Benue, Gombe and other states are among the 31 states listed as high risk areas. Meanwhile, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, said flood disasters killed 259 persons in 22 states across the country. Now, BK, we have been warned. A large volume of water flowing up from north, coming down to southern Nigeria. And when I say southern Nigeria, states in the south. Are we prepared for this?
No, we are not prepared. Even they look at what happened in Borno. We have relied heavily on the military. What is NEMA doing? What have they done? Are they equipped to deal with that kind of situation? When these warnings come, they are supposed to prepare us sufficiently in terms of personnel that will deploy, in terms of equipment. We need people who are properly trained to respond to this kind of emergencies. And when these emergencies happen, I want to see states helping one another. Lagos, for example, is very well equipped to handle some emergencies, because from time to time these things happen in Lagos. Lagos should feel free to help Oyo State, to even help some of the distant states with the equipment at their disposal, with the know-how that they have, in these areas. 172 local governments out of 774, we've been told, will be impacted. These warnings should not just happen. We must come up with the right strategy to deal with the problem. Some of what we are doing now are just like medicine after death. We've had a situation in which 259 persons have died nationwide. I look at Jigawa. During the last flooding that I think of 2 years ago, Jigawa was one of the worst hits. People are talking about Bayelsa and all that, but in terms of people that died, we lost about 1 million people, according to about 1 million people.
Our focus was on...
That's a lot. That's a lot of people. Dead. Communities overrun. Yes, that one affected so many states. Nearly all the states of the south were affected. But what are we doing? They've already projected that 1,048,312 people will be affected, and that 625,239 of them will be displaced. These are massive numbers. I always dread the release of water from Cameroon's Lagdo Dam. People will lose their farmlands, thereby worsening food insecurity. People will die. We are just paying for the irregular rainfall that we are experiencing. Shows that we are paying a heavy price for treating our habitat shabbily. This is our only habitat. The earth is our only habitat. We have no other place where we can live. We can't go and live in heaven now. But we have, yes, this is our planet, this is our habitat. We have not been fair to our habitat, and we are seeing the effects. I shudder to think that this thing will happen, because if we've been warned that there will be flooding of rivers Niger and River Benue, look at how many states that will be affected, from the south to the north. Some states of the northeast, River Benue passes through them. Some states of the north, River Niger passes through them. Look at Kebbi, for example. River Niger coming from Benin Republic, comes into Kebbi State. Look at the destruction that happened 2 years ago in Kebbi. Many people lost their rice farms. I'm not sure they've recovered up to now. Olam Farms, Nigeria's biggest rice producer, they lost their farm in Nasarawa State, which was their biggest.
Their biggest.
They lost it to the flooding. So why is it that we have not been able to come up with mitigating factors that will ensure that, yes, even when this thing happens, we limit the extent of destruction? Farmers are forced to, once they sense this flooding will happen, they quickly harvest their crops even before
the harvest.
Yes, before the due time, they quickly harvest so that they don't lose everything. The extent of this pain on Nigerians is easier imagined. I've seen flood kill people in Katsina State and push their remains all the way to Niger Republic. It can be that bad.
I don't want to.
So, 29 states, Abi? I think they said 29, it will affect 22 states. That's a lot out of 36.
That's a whole lot.
That's a lot. So every state now, especially those states that have Rivers Niger and Rivers Benue passing through them, they need to sit up. Their governments need to see
strategy.
Yes, and there's a need for the federal and state governments to come together. This thing does not simply require throwing money at it, because I've heard the VP say that states that they want to release money to states to deal with the problem. You must have the right strategy. Otherwise, you keep throwing money at a problem and that problem will not go.
It requires critical thinking.
Yes, we come up with very good ideas about how you can deal with a problem. Let us see that, yes, these are the measures that you come up with. Let's see those measures working. Not simply hearing stories that money has been released, and the next year it happens again. You know?
Okay, the Minister of Environment and Sanitation has come out to clarify this issue that it's not about the allowed, it's about climate change. Okay, but people have died.
Yep.
Now, we've been warned. Where are we in terms of preparation? I asked BKB, I said we are not prepared. For your opinion, where do you think we are, the southern states, in terms of preparation?
The way we address the crisis of climate change here, we present it from government's perspective as if it's a hopeless situation. Or climate change, as if it's a spirit that the government and the people are helpless. But in other countries, people are responding, taking decisive decisions. Creating new laws, amending existing laws to ensure that, they mitigate against the problem of climate change. The flooding that we are talking about in 2022, I think we had flooding of very serious magnitude. It happened in Bayelsa, Kogi, and I remember that in Bayelsa State, we had about 6,000 people that were moved into IDP camps near the Osborne Lake, near where they call it Bogene. And I remember that flooding submerged the East-West Road and also in the Pakistani Asics. And everybody was talking, we need to do this. That was around September, November, when there was the release of the, from Lagdo Dam in northern Cameroon. This dam has been there since, I think, 1977. It was built between 1977 and 1984, thereabout. And it has always been a major problem, ritual problem to Nigerians. So the problem you ask yourself is that, what is our national plan on management of water resources? What is what is the new plan that we really have to ensure that coastal states, are saved from this imminent flooding? And other countries have good plan. What is the level of regional cooperation among the states in the Niger Delta? What is NDDC doing to say, okay, we want to plan ahead to ensure that this does not happen? Even the house of the former president, President Jonathan, was part of that, is as private house was submerged. But you see, we're in a country that we act momentarily when there's a major crisis. When that crisis goes again, we go to sleep. So the Southwest states, what are they doing? Southeast, Southwest, the NDDC, and even corporate organizations. Our banks, our communication companies, they declare huge profit every year in trillions. What is the human component? We are talking about housing in Kaduna. Private companies abroad are the ones coming to implement it. What are they doing here? I remember in those days, private companies like Jeba Paper Mill had housing estate. They used to call it Colony in Jeba. Then there was Fujiro. It has this very beautiful estate, also located very close to Mokwa. Okay. So what are our corporate organizations doing? In Maiduguri now there's flooding. In Bayelsa, what are they doing? Just primitive accumulation. So it's a combination of government, private institutions, and also our state government. We need to shake the narrative.
We're going on a break now, but if I get you, what you're talking about is improving our flood management infrastructure. We need to...
And climate action.
And climate action. Someone said maybe we build more dams, but because there was a time you told me that we already have plenty dams.
Yes, we are not. How many of those dams are we desilting?
Are working.
I mean,
all right, but
if we don't desilt them, their capacity to take in water will be reduced.
But anyway, BK, we need to go on this quick break, okay? We need to pay some bills. We'll be right back. Journalist Hangout will continue right after.
Since the last day of last season, we are ready to do it all again. Phil Foden is having the season of his life. Brilliant! Just brilliant! That is quite something!
Stay connected for all the football you want, starting from 5,100 Naira per month.
Quality, wires and cables on. Light up your life, oh. Home and want to light up your house, oh. Home and want to give you better. Home and extraordinary wonder. Home and cables see baba. Home and wires see baba. Home and quality, home and durable. Home and capable, home and cables see baba. Home and wires see baba. Home and quality, home and durable. Home and capable, everybody, come and see. Home and wires, wonder things. Brother, sister, uncle, auntie, go get your own. Home and wires, home and cables, home and quality, home and durable, home and capable. Home and wires, home and cables, home and quality, home and durable, home and capable.
Coleman Wires and Cable, great quality, now with the new look.
If you just joined us, it's still Journalist Hangout. All right, BKO, let's talk about preventive measures now. How can we improve our flood management infrastructure? Should we build more dams, or the ones that we have, put them to good use?
Yeah, we can build more dams, and we can still put our dams to good use. We have more than 200 dams. We are neither using them sufficiently to irrigate farmlands for electricity. There's no reason why Nigeria cannot generate a lot more electricity from hydro. Brazil, for example, generates a lot of kilowatts from hydro. South Africa, they rely on coal. We rely largely on gas, gas-fired plants, but we can actually do a lot more with hydro, and we have a tremendous volume of rainfall that can make that happen. I also think that our dams, we need to desilt them from time to time. Our canals, we need to desilt them so that they can take in a bigger volume of water. We have drains all over the place that are clogged, and people living along flood plains, government has to relocate them. If they do not agree to be relocated, they should be forcibly relocated away from the natural cause of rainwater. You cannot go and be building houses on drainage channels. You can't be building houses on flood plains because nature will find its level. When you build houses on flood plains and you have torrential rains, as we've had in the last couple of months, a lot of damage will be done. So our climate action has to be much better. We must be intentional in dealing with the problems associated with climate change. You know? So I was talking about the 2022 floods in Nigeria. And I made a mistake when I said about 1 million people were killed. I actually wanted to say 1.4 million people were displaced.
Okay.
Yes. 603 people were killed. That was the official figure, 603 people. And that is a lot. And we know that when they say 603 people lost their lives, is most likely higher than that, because we try to limit the extent of them. 2,400 people were injured. 82,035 houses were damaged. You know, when you look at those pictures from Kogi State, you know, Kogi State had the good fortune of being the confluence for both River Niger and River Benue. You know, that is where they met. So with both rivers taking in a huge quantum of water, Kogi was so badly affected. You see the flood hitting roof level of many houses. I couldn't believe that it was my state that I was looking at in those pictures, and people lost their lives, they lost their belongings, they lost their houses. So we got to do our best to tame these floods, because the floods will keep coming until man decides to stop the harm that it is doing to the environment. These floods will happen. But the question is, how prepared are we? Nigeria needs to take a cue from other countries of the world, see what concrete steps are being taken, because our people are suffering a lot from these floods. How do you work for a whole year? You till your farms, you have a big rice field, you cultivated, you tractorized your rice field, only for the floods to come and render all your efforts a waste. Nobody wants to go through all that. And this warning, coming barely 2 years after we had such a terrible flood in 2022, I think that government needs to move quickly. You know, and NEMA has to be equipped thoroughly. Both the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Water Resources, they need to equip them to be able to address this problem, because from what I've seen in Borno State, we are clearly not ready, and I keep asking myself, if the military was not there, what would we have done? Because in those pictures, you see the military doing their best. You know, we are using the military to deal with banditry. We are using them for internal security. Now we are using them to
rescue efforts.
Yes, for flood intervention. We need to train people at NEMA, train people at Water Resources Ministry, train people in the Environment Ministry. That is basically their job, not to attend to these problems when they happen.
All right, let's move to another story where the political crisis in Rivers State has continued to create an unhealthy political atmosphere in the South State as the gladiators are not ready to back down. In a recent interview, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory FCT, Nyesom Wike, has vowed never to support Governor Siminalayi Fubara again in his political life, insisting that it is not about him, but about the people that labored to put up a structure for his emergence. Wike, who defended working for President Bola Tinubu, said his successor is ungrateful for his support and that of others who worked for him to become the governor by destroying the political structure that brought him to power. Okay. Minister Nyesom Wike is saying that it is no secret that he worked for President Bola Tinubu in the 2023 elections, even though he's a strong member of the PDP. Now, let me ask you, is this not anti-party, or he has a right to support whoever he wants to support?
No, so that is working for, he's talking about working for, for the party. I mean, working for the president. On the matter of working for the president, his argument had always been that before agreeing to serve, to work in the cabinet of the president and by extension serving his country, he sought permission from the leadership of his party. So, and the leadership of his party
gave him the go-ahead.
It is the norm in countries like America, for example. Some solid people, the Democrats may be in power, but they will sometimes go and headhunt solid people in the opposition, which is the Republican Party. I've seen that happen. I think there was even Secretary of Commerce that actually came from the opposition. So they see it over there as serving their nation. So even if you do not belong to the ruling party, the ruling party has just taken office, has just taken power, they would need the support of everyone to succeed. When it comes to such matters, they are really bipartisan. And wherever the administration will be dominated, the government will be dominated by people from the ruling party. But in some situations, the president, an American president, will feel that, oh, there is this bright guy in the Republican Party. I need to headhunt him to come and serve in my government. At that point, the person will not, he will be thinking bipartisan, and he will just feel, well, it's my country that we are talking about now. This does not mean that I've jumped ship or that I've become a Democrat. It's just to serve my government. I mean, serve my country.
No.
So Wike is saying that there's nothing wrong in serving his nation, especially after he sought permission from his party and that permission was not rejected. So if Damagum and others in the National Working Committee of the PDP had said, no, you cannot go, and he decided to go, then you can say it's anti-party activity. But they gave him, according to him, they gave him the go-ahead, and none of them, it's not the first time he's saying it, and none of them has come out to say, no, you lied. We never gave you permission to go and work for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And even in Nigeria, it's not the first time. It's not the first time. Obasanjo brought in elements from the Alliance for Democracy. He worked in his administration. Not one, not even two persons. Bola Ige, who was his power minister.
Okay, power minister.
Yes,
okay.
Was a very strong person in the Alliance for Democracy. and he was his minister. In fact, a former chairman of an opposition party was brought into his administration as a special advisor. Two former chairmen of opposition party were brought into his administration, his cabinet, to serve as special advisors. So Obasanjo used such people. And I don't think, if we want our democracy and politics to get better, we should not kick against people serving their government, serving their country.
No matter the party.
Yes, we should be bipartisan on this kind of matter. We should not allow emotions to dictate what we do.
All right. Well, you're doing. The minister saying that he will not, he was emphatic on that he will not support the River State governor. Now, what is the impact of this on the political dynamics, in River State?
First of all, just like Babajide has said, it's not the first time you get people from, even Chief Cornelius Adebayo, also served with President Obasanjo, even though he came from the Nadeco AD group, So I think that from what I'm seeing, the PDP has found it very difficult to resolve its internal contradictions. And either you like it or not, Wike is one of the most formidable individuals, in that party. And I have visited Abuja in recent times, this past 1 year. I think he also remains an asset to the current government. Yes. I spoke with taxis that took me from one point to the other. People are talking about new roads. People are talking about street lights in Abuja that even before everywhere was dark.
Yes.
They don't even want to talk about the increase in fuel. Taxi drivers say, no, Wike is performing. Go to Abuja and later ask people. He has been able to distinguish himself. And I think as a country, we need such people, irrespective of his party affiliation. And I think if you look at Wike's political career, look at even during the primaries of PDP, look at the narrow margin between him and Atiku. Yes. It was his first time such a thing was happening. Somebody from Niger Delta.
Tambua donated his
vote. If not because Tambua, donated it. Look at the third person that came third, Saraki, 70 votes. Compared with Wike that got 237. And Atiku, 371. Just distance of 134. So he nearly won that presidential election. That will tell you the level of his network in the country, just beyond, River State. So I think such a person who is an asset, you need to manage him. It's like performing operation on a very, very delicate, surgical operation on a delicate organ. If you are not careful, you want to just remove the organ, the patient will die. So if the PDP really wants to play mature politics of principle, they need to show some respect for Wike. If not, I think the party has a lot to lose as the presidential election approaches. Because he's a formidable figure. And it's not only him, he's also central to the 5 PDP governors that did not support Atiku in the last election. Okay. So I think...
and nobody funded the party more than him.
Yeah, more than him. So when you have such a person, you can't have is Atiku perfect? None of them is perfect. So you must know how to manage a figure like this. But I think increasingly it's being pushed to the wall. And I think there's going to be counter,
looking at the situation in Rivers, the rift between the minister and the governor. In your opinion, how do you think that rift can be resolved? Although he said that it's not going to, but how do you think it's going to be? Do you see someone leaving a party for another, in your opinion? Or do you see it not being resolved at all?
I think if the two gladiators have the interest of the people at heart, there should be at least a lowest common factor that will bring them together. But it appears both parties, taking extreme positions. So it's going to be very difficult. It's only an act of God that will be able to resolve this problem. But I think the current governor of Ubara has more to lose. He's the one that is desperately looking for a second term.
Okay.
Wike is not contesting for a second term. He's guaranteed, even if you want to be a minister in the next administration, if APC wins the presidential election. So I think if you know that you are negotiating from a position of weakness, that's the governor. Forget about the fact that you have, paraphernalia of office and all that. As we speak, you are the one that wants second, and you want some level of stability for your first term. So I think he must be able to walk the rope, with a lot of diligence. For me, if I were him, I would not even allow this crisis to come up my first time. I would have managed it. But it started happening the first week. And if it's not helpful for the first term, first 4 years, it's going to be, riding in turbulence. And if you ride in turbulence for your first term, how are you sure that you are going to have a second term? Considering even the vote that comes from, Wike's ethnic group and also his own local government. True. It's formidable. So I think, we have different forces that are pushing both sides, and they just think, but when they get to that feed, when the election comes, I think the stronger person will know that, the people will know who is stronger than the other.
BKO,
yes.
This issue, the rift, do you see it being resolved? Or do you see, because there's been rumors that the governor might leave for a particular part, there's been rumors, but it's not been confirmed yet. But what are you seeing?
Increasingly, it's looking like Governor Fubara will eventually have to leave the PDP. Because what happened last week, I think on Thursday, when the National Working Committee of the party decided to approve the Congress held some weeks back, it was a clear sign that the leadership of the party was not prepared to side with the governor against his son Wike. And the way it is now, the structures of the party in the state, that's the PDP, are firmly in the hands of Wike. Because the congresses were from ward to local government and to the state. Ubara's supporters did not buy form. And the stipulation is that only those who bought forms can contest in the congresses. The congresses eventually produced Aaron Chukwemeka from the Wike faction as the chairman of the party in the state. Yes, there was a court that ordered them not to proceed with the Congress.
Okay.
But an earlier court had ruled that's the Federal High Court, had ruled that nothing must tamper with, that nobody should tamper with the Congress of the party. And when you have two courts of concurrent jurisdiction giving conflicting orders, the tradition is usually to obey the first, the first court, the first entity. I thought that the governor's people would have found a superior court to set aside that earlier
judgment.
Yes, because by giving by a court of concurrent jurisdiction, that's the state high court, giving a different order, that means that first order had not been set aside.
And until when it's set aside,
you have to set it aside. We talk about these things. Sometimes you wonder who advises them. Because you're supposed to be advised by a lawyer who knows what the law says. Because that order had not been set aside. So, they went ahead, they held their Congress. The governor didn't show up. His supporters also didn't show up. So, on that score, they lost out completely. The governors gave an order that the leadership of the party should hand over the structures of the party to the governor, who is the leader of the party. By tradition, a sitting governor
is always
the leader of the party. It's like that too in the APC. But in this case, Wike is the proper politician amongst them. But Fubara is not really a politician. He's been a technocrat. All his working career has been a technocrat. So some of these issues may not be clear to him. But they should have found a way to set aside that order so that that Congress will not hold. But now we had that Congress and he is now firmly in charge. We are hearing rumors that the governor's people are buying forms to go and contest the local government election on the platform of APP. That was the party that had this secretariat bombed the other day. You must have felt that, okay, they went to attack the place knowing that the governor intends to use that platform. So if you lost out in terms of the structures of how do you install yourself?
Exactly.
That means you can't be candidate of the party. Because the structures that will produce you have been completely annexed by an individual.
Sure.
So how do you come out? All elections at that level, all primaries will be based on the congresses. So if you do not have a footing there, how do you get your own candidates to pass through that structure and become candidates? How do you get your supporters to pass through?
Okay. All right, Bike, we have a caller, Benga from Abuja. Benga, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon to you.
My name is Benga from Abuja. Good afternoon to Kolade Otitoju there and your guest there. BKO, I've been your follower and I enjoy your analysis, but today I will disagree with you.
Yes.
I watched your program on the line that I could not miss you. That is a program with you usually have online. You claim that by default, the governor is the political leader of the state. I disagree with you because after our president, Bola Tinubu, left being a governor in 2007, all the governors that took over were not the political leader of Lagos State. As well, you remain the political leader of Lagos State until he now became a president.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Benga. Because of our time, thank you very much. BK, you want to quickly react to that?
You see, I'm talking about what the party, their constitution says. What Ashwaju has done in Lagos, not many people can replicate it. And where people have tried, look at what is happening in Benue, for example. Normally, the Secretary of Government of the Federation should be the leader of the party. But what these governors always say is that the law says that the sitting governor, where you do not have a sitting governor, then the former governor, the immediate past governor, shall be the leader. And we are seeing it in places where APC or PDP are not in control. The leader is usually the former in Ekiti. We had Adebayo. You know, seen as the leader of the APC there when before Fayemi became governor. So look at Kano. That was the source of the quarrel between Shekarau and Ganduje. Because the party eventually sided with Ganduje against Shekarau that, yes, you are a former governor, but the sitting governor, our rule says the sitting governor shall be the leader of the party. Go and work with him. Shekarau did not like that because Shekarau had a court order that gave him the structures of the party. But the party sided with Ganduje against Shekarau, and he ended up leaving the party and went to the PDP. You understand?
Okay.
We've seen that there are many examples. The fact that Asiwaju was called national leader of the APC. The fact that this has happened with Asiwaju does not mean that both in the PDP and APC, it is there in their rule that the sitting governor in a local government, the highest ranked political office holder, maybe a senator or House of Assembly member or a House of Reps member, shall be the leader of the party in the state. This is what is happening. It's not the fact that we have a departure with Asiwaju does not mean that is not what the law says.
Okay.
In the two parties, because clearly APC borrows some ideas from PDP, and they are running with some of those ideas. So, but Lagos is a different.
It's a different. All right.
And a lot of the people who have been governors in Lagos were not dyed in the wool politicians.
Technocrats.
You are technocrats. Ambode, technocrat. Fashola was not even a politician. Many of the politicians didn't like him. You know, the fact he was always blocking the access to Asiwaju when he was chief of staff. So, and then this last person too, not a core politician in this sense. So, they are not the sort of people who now go gongu to fight the Capone. To say,
I should be the leader.
They are not going to do that.
All right, thank you so much, BK. Thank you so much, the veteran. Thank you so much for having this conversation. Adewale Ade, thank you so much for coming to the studio to have this conversation. And that's it. That's all on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Benga Oreshegun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Over 2 decades, he has remained consistent and incredibly funny. No wonder he is called the Comedy Berlusconi. Raise up for one of Africa's biggest comedy brands. It's Gordon, the Comedy Berlusconi live in Lagos. He's underestimated. Also performing AY, Acapella, Kenny Black, Akbararo, Mr. Paul, Arinze Baba, MC Monica, Osh Bebe, Jukes the General, Will Mouth, Prince Will, and a surprise musical act. Date is Sunday, 22nd September. Venue, the Bamuro Hall, Federal Palace Hotel, VI Lagos. Time 6 p.m. Tickets regular 5K. VIP 20K, gold table 1 million naira, premium table 2 million naira. Go get your tickets online at nairabox.com and reatickets.com, grandtickets.ng. You can also get your tickets at all Blanco supermarkets, all Evano supermarkets across Lagos. For inquiries and table reservations, please call 0703-131-9794. Gordon's the Berlusconi live in Lagos is supported by Delta State Government, Glow, Zoe's Kitchen, Anko Insurance, X-Pro Gas, GMH Luxury, Moody Africa, powered by Waiting You Need and packaged by Spy Global Entertainment. Media partner TVC.
This Sunday, as Nigeria's population grows and climate change challenges food security, agriculturists turn their eyes on GMOs as solution.
There hasn't been any negative reports, that so person has eaten it and has died or what.
When you plant them, they will yield faster.
But the experts' answers breed controversy amongst some Nigerians.
On one hand, people are the ignorance of the public is being preyed upon. On the other hand, profiteering that will bring big money into those that are pushing and promoting for this.
When you add chemicals to food, which is not healthy for humans, I think it has to go through the normal process. If it goes through the normal process, I don't have an issue with it.
Uloma Oyemachi tries to find a middle ground on how to improve food production through science and allay the fears of concerned Nigerians. That's on Sunday Specials, where great stories live.
Ignorance is the mother of personal destruction, a voluntary misfortune, and it is worse when you are ignorant of your ignorance.
You and Your Health with Dr. Richard Okoye is brought to you by Dr. Civil Life Foundation as he uncovers the mystery behind most deadly diseases, their causes, prevention, and latest treatment. Send in your comment and health-related questions. Together, Let's liberate Africa from health ignorance.
Hear this, you are ignorantly awaiting the arrival of your wife's menopause. If you have low sperm count and ignore it.
Join Dr. Richard Okoye every Sunday by 3:30 p.m.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news. At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
In the past, it was a haven for hooliganism and cultism, a breeding ground for notorious youth. But in this disreputable state, many reputable individuals with outstanding ideas have come out of the locality. Over 17 years ago, amid the chaotic situations in this area, a young man decided to bury himself in a cyber cafe for many nights to develop many innovations. One of the outstanding ideas that was later built into this first free-to-view TV streaming service called OH Prime TV, offering over 450 premium channels on 59 digital platforms, made history in the United Kingdom. I came across the news of the brilliant Nigerian who is a co-founder of the platform Making Africa Proud in the UK, Daniel Akintola, an accounting graduate turned tech guru. He is the first African to win the 2024 IMBCU Entrepreneur of the Year laurel since the establishment of the school in 1843. I had an opportunity of a virtual interview with the award recipient who is currently studying at Birmingham City University in the UK. Daniel Akintola, the CEO of Danny Brooks Technology, explained to me how he was raised by his mother after losing his father at the age of 6.
I was raised by a virtuous widow mom who gallantly and took pride in wearing rags just for her to be able to afford an after-school tuition of a tutorial center in those days in Moshe. There used to be a popular school that you will say in the category of Moshe rating. You could say that was a school where the children of the crème de la crème of Moshe were attending then in those days, the Fellowdon group of schools. And my mother couldn't afford to send me to that school, but the school had an after-school tutorial center. So my mother would rather wear rags to be able to afford the tuition of that after-school tutorial center.
As tough as life was for Daniel, he continued to strive for a pathway to success even in the heat of hazard. His cyber cafe experience got to me.
How can I forget the memories of those years when I would go to cyber cafe to research on a noble idea I was working on, and the managers of those cyber cafe in the wheels of the hours would go to the toilet to call the police in Moshe over that Ogasu done ready. So back in Moshe in those days, raiding of cyber cafe by police officers was corruptly lucrative. So whether you were there for a legit motive or the Yahoo boys of those days were there, everybody was to be raided together. It was from the 4 walls of cyber cafes doing night browsing that the idea of what God has helped me to build today was incubated.
His persistence and doggedness got him to the Redeemer's Christian Church of God, the right collaborator for the invention in 2021 that catapulted him to global fame in 2024.
During COVID, RCCG had a phenomenal problem. There was a ministerial partnership event that they usually held, dinner events with the GO, and they had a issue about how would they be able to converge people during that lockdown. So we were invited to make it happen, and through the use of technology, we made that happen. Telepresence and the like, and video streaming technology. It was as a result of the huge success of that particular project that in 2021 we were then invited to come to the table that, okay, there had been a project of the mission that they had earlier on thought of. Initially, the mission had the goal of taking the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ beyond the border walls of Nigeria and to make it reach anywhere in the world. But the approach with which they conceptualized the idea from beginning, we saw the need to tweak it and to polish it, rebrush it. They earlier gave the project to a service provider. Being brought from the US, they didn't understand the environmental peculiarity of Nigeria. When we came into the picture, then we overhauled everything and scrapped everything and built something new from the scratch. So we understood the marketing dynamics that, okay, give people premium content. Let it be lag free. It should not buffer. And at the same time, make it accessible anywhere they turn to. It's either for the rich who have smart televisions, or those who just have mobile phones, or those who don't even have mobile phones, who can only afford an Android stick or an Android TV dongle.
Two things came to my mind during the interview to validate this claim. One was to hear from his aged mother if there was any special situation attached to his birth, while the second was to explore the features of the OH Prime TV. I chose the second option. In the comfort of my workplace, I brought out my phone to check if truly what Daniel explained about the streaming platform was authentic. And my discovery got me glued to the few channels I could explore from the hundreds.
I just discovered that I have access to more than 400 free channels, ranging from faith-based channels to news, to sports, to movies, to business, to lifestyle, to knowledge, to healing, music, kids and teens, name it. This is quite interesting. Free without subscription. I now see why he was able to come home with this award.
To unravel the level of effort put into these platforms,